In the darkest depths of the cosmos, where the void presses against the edges of existence itself, there lies an enigmatic and deadly region, the event horizon of a colossal black hole. Its immense gravitational pull reaches out like the tendrils of a cosmic beast, yet beyond that point, something truly strange happens. Gravity, the force that binds and breaks worlds, ceases to be. Matter, once bound by its influence, breaks free from the rules of physics. And in the space beyond, where time itself distorts, exotic matter is born. The two empires, the Draththal and the Taliori, had fought wars for eons, but none were more devastating, nor more important, than the one that would unfold near the singularity. The Draththal were an ancient species, tall and gaunt, their exoskeletal frames lined with crystalline patterns that shifted and gleamed as though they themselves were part of the universe's fabric. Their civilization had transcended the limits of organic life, evolving into beings of pure thought, but with a body to match. Their mastery of physics was unmatched, and they sought control over the exotic matter beyond the event horizon, believing it held the key to unlocking the final laws of the universe, the ultimate power to reshape reality. The Taliori, on the other hand, were beings of liquid metal and shifting forms, their bodies ever-changing, adapting to whatever environment they encountered. Their empire, while not as advanced in the theoretical sciences as the Draththal, had perfected the art of harnessing the raw potential of raw energy. It was their discovery of exotic matter, or rather, their understanding of its immense power, that had pushed them into a ruthless conflict with the Draththal. The Taliori knew that whoever controlled the event horizon could dictate the fate of the galaxy. When the first reconnaissance probe from each empire approached the black hole, they did so with an understanding that this would be no ordinary encounter. There was no going back from the event horizon. Those who ventured into that space would be forever changed, their fate sealed by the forces that awaited them. And yet, for both the Draththal and the Taliori, the potential rewards were worth any sacrifice. The Draththal fleet arrived first. Their ships were vast, crystalline structures suspended in the void, their surfaces glinting with the light of distant stars. With their keen intellects and technological superiority, they began to terraform the space around the event horizon, building energy field generators that warped the very fabric of time. They sought to stabilize the surrounding area, to create a foothold in the chaos, where they could extract the exotic matter they so desperately needed. But they had not accounted for the Taliori. The Taliori ships were not constructed as their counterparts' crystalline vessels were. Instead, their ships resembled vast, liquid orbs that shimmered and pulsed with an almost organic rhythm. Their forms had a sentience to them, a will that guided them as easily as any living creature. The Taliori's understanding of energy was far more primal, and they had no intention of waiting for the Draththal to carve out a safe haven. They attacked immediately, launching an array of energy pulses that shredded through the delicate Draththal defenses. The first volley of fire decimated the Draththal's forward outposts, reducing them to nothing more than twisted shards of crystalline wreckage. The Draththal retaliated with waves of gravitational distortions, using their superior manipulation of space-time to destabilize the Taliori ships. But the Taliori, unlike the Draththal, had perfected the art of navigating chaos. Their ships, made of liquid metal, absorbed the shockwaves and adapted, morphing their structures into defensive geometries that were incomprehensible to their enemies. The war was no longer a conflict of tactics and strategy. It had become an all-consuming battle of survival, of adaptation. The Taliori learned to exploit the chaos at the edge of the black hole. The Draththal, meanwhile, fought desperately to maintain their fragile grip on reason and order. As the two empires collided, the first major battle took place just beyond the event horizon, where time itself began to warp and bend. Both empires had established massive installations there, massive, city-like structures designed to harvest the exotic matter from the quantum flux that existed in the space around the black hole. But as the two forces collided, the gravity wells of their own destruction began to take hold. The Draththal, wielding their formidable mastery over time and space, sought to twist the very fabric of the universe to their will. They deployed vast temporal anchors, hoping to freeze moments of time in place, trapping the Taliori within stasis fields that would never release them. But the Taliori, immune to the constraints of traditional time, flickered in and out of existence, unbound by the same limitations that the Draththal had set up. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, death was a fluid concept. Both sides experienced simultaneous deaths and rebirths, as soldiers were ripped apart and then reformed in the same instant. But it was not the physical toll that mattered. It was the psychological warfare that had begun to take root. Both empires were beginning to question the very nature of reality. They no longer knew if their battles were real or if they were simply the products of their warped perceptions. Exotic matter, once thought to be a resource of unimaginable power, had become something far more dangerous. Those who mined it were changed by it. Those who used it, those who controlled it, found themselves becoming something less than their former selves, creatures of sheer will, devoid of empathy or understanding. The Taliori, in their desperation, deployed a weapon of unspeakable power. They created a vortex, a temporary singularity that tore through space-time, ripping apart everything in its path. The black hole itself trembled in response to the weapon, as if it too feared the Taliori's newfound abilities. The weapon ripped through the Draththal outposts, obliterating entire fleets and leaving behind nothing but the cold expanse of void. But the Draththal were not defeated. They sent their most advanced ships into the event horizon, beyond the point of no return. There, they would attempt to tap directly into the quantum energy, extracting the matter that would give them control over space-time itself. As the battle for control of the exotic matter intensified, both empires began to lose sight of their original purposes. The war was no longer about resources or survival. It was about dominance, about proving that their way of existence was the rightful one. The Draththal, with their cold, logical nature, believed that control over the exotic matter would grant them the power to remake the universe into a place of perfect order. The Taliori, driven by a more primal instinct, saw the event horizon as the final frontier, the place where all that was known could be undone, and where new worlds could be forged. The conflict escalated beyond what either empire had anticipated. The fabric of space itself began to unravel, torn apart by the destructive energies unleashed by both sides. Time and space folded in on themselves. The stars above the black hole blinked out, as if they too had been devoured by the enormous force. The ships of the Draththal and Taliori were drawn into the maelstrom, their once pristine forms now twisted and broken by the overwhelming forces of the singularity. The event horizon had become a vortex of destruction, a place where nothing could survive, and everything that entered would be consumed. The final battle was not fought with weapons, but with the minds of the two empires. The Draththal and Taliori, their minds now fused with the exotic matter, could no longer differentiate themselves from the very energy they had sought to control. Their civilization, once a bastion of technological marvels, was now little more than a distant memory. The battle for control of the event horizon had not only destroyed their fleets, their worlds, but also their very essence. In the end, there was no victor. The black hole, the singularity at the center of their war, had claimed everything. Both empires, their endless hunger for power and the exotic matter that had drawn them to the edge of the universe, were swallowed into the abyss. What remained was nothing, the eternal void, undisturbed by the echoes of their war. The universe, forever altered, continued on, indifferent to the struggle of those who had come and gone, leaving only the memory of a war fought at the edge of existence, where even gravity had no power, and time itself had bent to the will of those who sought to control the cosmos, and an unimaginable result. At the other end of singularity, the two formidable adversaries came out as pure thought, force, and will, forever distancing each other in motive and purpose, landing on a solar system's third planet, becoming to the inhabitants of the tiny blue planet gods and demons, purest forms of good and evil. If you like this story, please comment, like, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell for upcoming videos. Until then, let your imagination run wild.